Good evening and welcome to episode 15 of the Unhinged Dads podcast after a 1 week hiatus caused by school concerts. I am Brian De Almeida, and with me is my perpetual co-host. Yes, you probably should feel bad for him, Dave Pasco.
Good evening.
Well, it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How's it gone?
It proceeds apace. Actually, things are moving right along. The contractor is working on our house. We are working on our house. We've been hanging cabinets. That's the word I'm looking for. We've been hanging cabinets.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And I unboxed my handy dandy brand new sexy table saw, and the spindle lock button doesn't move.
Oh, which table saw did you get?
I got the Milwaukee because I'm already into the red flavored batteries.
Okay. Yeah, and you don't have a spot for a cabinet saw.
No, not at this point. But because the table saw doesn't work and we're cutting French cleats, I need something to rip it. So the table saw is getting shipped off to get fixed.
Lovely.
Because that's what basically a depot level repair. And because the Milwaukee's one key anti-theft protocols require resetting electronics, and I don't know, whatever. It's not my problem.
Oh, geez.
It's all under warranty.
Oh, that's good.
But because we needed to make those cuts, I now have a track saw.
You got the Milwaukee track saw too?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's slick. I really like it. Those cuts are really nice. I'll be able to do a lot of square cuts now in ways that I hadn't really been able. Like, I've free-handed some circular saw cuts fairly well, but
yeah, and you know the trick of using your speed square as a guide, right? For
absolutely
lumber.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The one thing I've learned with track saws is you cannot use the thin curve 6.5 inch circular saw blades as replacements because they flex too much and they will wander and dive into your track. I've got 3 55-inch Makita tracks with like bits taken out of them before I realized that I have to use the thicker, more rigid track saw blades that cost 4 times as much.
Yeah, that checks out. That sucks.
Yeah, well, especially when the friggin' tracks are like $90 a piece.
Yes.
But yeah, so now I just have a couple of the Makita track saw blades, and as they dull, they go in for sharpening with the rest of my saw blades.
There you go.
I spend a couple $100 a year on sharpening saw blades and router bits with a local carbide company.
Well, and you get the good stuff, and you do need to sharpen it, but then you're not rebuying. Again.
Yeah, I still have like 14 different table saw blades, so that I have backups to backups, especially for my ripping blades because I use those a ton.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm not even sure. You've got to have somebody in the area that does blade sharpening.
I am certain there is, and if there's not something this close, there will almost certainly be someone. Midland, I would imagine there's somebody doing something for the oil industry that's supporting that, and then of course the Metro Mess and Austin and San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it might take getting to a space, but I'm sure that can be accomplished eventually. Yeah. So we turns out my wife and I actually do projects together quite well. We have successfully assembled IKEA furniture together as a married couple.
Isn't that awesome?
It's amazing. We've hung, let's see, so far 5 upper cabinets, including the corner, and it's plumb and level, and the everything is flush.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, no, it's so far it's been an amazing experience, and I heartily recommend the forearm forklift for moving large awkward things with 2 people,
Yeah,
because
that's fantastic.
we have some full height pantry cupboards, and I'm actually really pleased. This is Lowe's big box. It's their express, and it's not because what they have in their giant box office home plate box is the particle board,
Yeah,
and that sucks. Like, let's
hmm
be very honest. Like,
it does.
if this is what you can afford, it will see you fine, provided nothing happens and you get no water into it.
Yeah,
But
but eventually the screws on all the hinges will back out, and you will have issues. I mean, figure a life on those of 5 to up to 10 years, maybe.
yeah, but the next step up is good plywood.
Yeah,
It's the carcasses are 1/2 inch and 3/8, which is like, it's not 3/4, but honestly, that's for the most part pretty good. And that's the upper
it
stuff.
is.
The, the lower stuff is not too bad. The shelves are all 3/4 ply, and it's not like your Home Despot, 5 layers and a veneer. It's like 13,
It's
15 layers.
cabinet grade. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's cabinet grade plywood.
genuine good plywood. All the hinges are the quiet close, and the drawers are quiet close hardware. The reason
Fantastic.
they are as budget as they are is they're assembled in the factory and shipped to you, and
Yeah,
so some of the doors are not going to be quite even. You're going to get some scuff marks on the veneer. Um, if you can deal with that, it's a hell of a value.
yeah, beats the hell out of paying $50,000 to $90,000 for custom cabinets,
Oh yeah.
or being me and just spending months
Well,
putting them and then storing them all over the house until you're ready to actually start installing them, which is what's going to happen.
yeah. Well, and we've got the great room still has a bunch of boxes. It's got all the lowers.
Oh yeah,
We've got a couple more of the uppers to hang tomorrow, and then it'll be putting the lowers in.
that's fantastic. So it
It's
sounds
been a
like,
pleasure.
sounds like we're only a few more weeks out, we hope.
Yeah, hopefully. And frankly, as soon as the uh, contractor gets a bathroom up and running, we can basically camp out in a couple of rooms. We'll
Yeah,
have
can't
to.
quite get an occupancy permit, but
Well, we're outside of city limits, so they don't care.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's why we've been working really hard to get things up to code uh, through this process, because things really weren't up to code.
hmm
There was a lot that was grandfathered in that's just kind of, well, that
Yeah,
was
it's
a
the kind
choice.
of thing. It's the kind of things that you have an opportunity to you fix them.
Yes, and so we've been fixing a lot. The wiring is almost certainly not going to burn the house down now, and that's
That's
exciting.
great.
hmm We
House
have
fires really suck.
house fires really suck. Yeah, Tully took a year to get back into his house after the fire in his garage, and that
Yep.
only ate part of the garage ceiling and part of the next room. That
Yeah,
wasn't even the whole house.
truly.
Um,
Oh, I need to bring up the chat window. Not that
oh
anybody's
yeah,
in here. Well, no, we do have several people watching. Just nobody's commented yet. So let's lay into our questions three.
oh yes.
Dave, what have you done for self improvement in the last 2 weeks?
Oh goodness. Um, I have been taking my meds consistently.
Awesome.
And I think it's really taking the edge off, which normally is like, yeah, you ever see that Mitchell and Webb look uh, sketch of the inebriati, the Knight's Tippler?
Mm-mm.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to shoot you that one. The notion that behind that very nearly 2 drinks really sets the human psyche up for genuine success. Um, uh, and that's the takes the edge off in the recreational sense. This is takes
Uh-huh.
the edge off in the I'm not dealing with constant rumination, and I can walk around the by myself and not envision horrific scenarios happening while I'm not around to try to control things. So that's an improvement.
Yeah, that frees up spoons for other things.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and
But
you don't realize how much energy that depression and anxiety can, just at like baseline, can take away from you in a day until
yeah,
you start getting some of that energy back and going, oh, holy shit, I was putting
yeah.
that much effort into that.
Well, and into fighting it and into struggling
Mm-hmm.
against all of that and dealing with the emotional fallout thereof.
Yeah, it it genuinely consumes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Hmm.
And being
Hmm.
able to free up some of that for more productive endeavors is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So it's reasonable to expect that we might be able to start camping out back in the house within a couple of weeks,
That's fantastic.
possibly by the
Um,
end.
for me, I have been learning things. I've been learning HTML by osmosis as I went through. I fully revamped our website, which I had built through Google Sites, from more of a placeholder to a full-fledged podcast website.
Yeah.
And then I started running into limitations with Google Sites on the mobile experience. And so then I went and changed hosts, and I'm currently rebuilding the site again using a hosting platform that I can actually edit the mobile version so that it comes out looking the way that I want it to, instead of crossing my fingers and hoping that Google Sites doesn't fuck it up too badly.
Yeah, Google really kind of shot themselves in the foot when they dropped that "don't" off of their motto.
Don't be evil. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I built the website, and now I'm building the website again. And so I've been using Grok and picking up HTML stuff by osmosis for when the site builder tools won't do something that I want, like make me a countdown clock to the next live episode,
right.
which I have working on the new site. In fact, right now I'm looking at my preview. It says Thursday, May 7th, 8 p.m. MDT, live now, with a link to it.
Nice.
So I've been learning things.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tedious as hell, but it's
Yeah.
something something I haven't done before, and I'm learning things, and so it's actually kind of invigorating.
Yep. Yeah. That whole novelty thing is a real driver.
Hmm. So, what's something that we've screwed up this week?
Well, I am. It's weird. You get married and you learn how to um, navigate the rocky shoals of a relationship with an adult woman, and then you have a daughter, and then and the skills you built dealing with your wife don't actually necessarily correspond well.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, my daughter feels things very strongly.
Yes, she
Uh,
does.
yeah. And occasionally I am less than sympathetic to some of those, and so I react logically
And that
and
doesn't feel good to her, does it?
and make logical suggestions, and it really doesn't feel good. And then my wife says, and then I look at my wife and I say, okay, how could I have handled that better? And she says, well, I'm just realizing that now you could have said, that really sucks, and I'm sorry that you were dealing with that. It's no fun. And I say, yeah, saying something along the lines of, well, I was asked to provide solutions is really not actually a useful answer.
Yeah, not when you're dealing with emotional fallout.
No, no. And being the end of the day after you've spent all day hanging cabinets and talking through things and measuring things and cutting things and putting things up and moving things around.
And I'd
Oh,
imagine sweating copiously.
actually not too bad. The new AC unit keeps things decent, and it's actually been reasonably temperatured last couple of days. It was
Oh,
high of
nice.
68 today.
Oh, it was warmer here.
It'll be a high of 90, in a couple of days here. But we've actually had pleasant weather, which is fantastic. But yeah, now the functioning AC units in the house are really helpful that way.
Oh, yeah.
I do sweat because you're lifting things and working it. You
But it's
perspire.
not 95 degrees inside the house.
It's not 95 degrees inside the house, thank God.
That's right, because you got the windows done a few weeks ago, so you actually are closed up and can run the air
Yeah,
conditioners.
yeah, we're closed up. We can run the AC. Both of them are functioning. The new one is a larger unit than the old one was. It's also much newer, so hopefully will not crap out on us over the middle of summer, which had happened several years back, and then not putting out heat in the middle of winter, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
So for
So
me,
yeah,
sorry.
I'm learning how to respond in a manner that encourages my daughter to um, engage as opposed to withdraw.
Yeah.
And she's the kind who's almost always going to need a minute, not in anybody's face anyway.
Hmm.
She may feel things strongly. Anyway, your turn.
Um, this is communication difficulties. We've got about 3 weeks before school ends, and 2 days after school ends, we are driving to Oregon for family
Yes.
summer vacation. So I have a long and extensive list of things that I need to get done between now and then, including all the spring vehicle maintenance. I've got 3 cars that need oil changes. I've got my truck needs new brakes. The van needs new shocks. The Xterra that the kids drive needs to eventually pass emissions because technically its registration expired in November, and that's where that's where I ran into some issues because it was pointed out, hey, we really need to get this. What needs to happen to be able to get this to pass emissions, and registration's been paid, but we can't get the tag until it passes emissions. And I go, I don't fucking know,
Yeah.
because it's being driven every day. I don't have any opportunity to look at it and see what code's popping up and preventing it from getting into the state that'll pass emissions. All I get
Yeah.
told is nothing. The check engine light comes on, and then it comes off, and nobody tells me.
Yeah.
I was like, if nobody's telling me when this is happening, I can't go and try and investigate it and figure out what the fuck it is. And this has been on my mind since November, and I keep going and trying to diagnose it, and I'm not catching the errors when they come up, so I'm not getting an opportunity to diagnose it, and then I'm being questioned, and I let my frustration bleed through in that discussion.
Yeah.
I was like, look, if you're not telling me, I can't investigate it and I can't fix it. Well, then I guess I just won't drive it. It's like, no, that is not what I'm saying. I need to know when the check engine light comes on so I can pull that code, and then I need some time to be able to diagnose it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to work that in around everything else. So it may not always be totally convenient.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Oh man.
I need time. And I think I've got it narrowed down. I've applied the cheapest fix and waiting to see if that works, but I'm expecting to be replacing oxygen sensors and catalytic converters, which is going to be no fun because every fastener on the exhaust on that thing is seized.
Yep.
And it's going to be expensive because oxygen sensors are $90 a piece and the cats are about $200 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to replace a tire on my truck because after I finally got the suspension fixed from the accident, after USAA made me wait for 8 months not being able to drive it, USAA auto insurance has gone to hell. I got underneath it to change the oil, and I saw that my front sway bar, the anti-roll bar, was broken in half. I've never seen that in 30 years of working on cars. So I had to replace it, and I replaced it and just continued driving and did not account for the fact that would change the camber angle on that tire. So now the outside shoulder of that tire that I bought 6 months ago is shot. So it's another $200 for a tire and $90 for an alignment.
Yeah.
That if I had been thinking when I made the repair, would have gotten it aligned, and I would not be spending money on a tire.
Yeah.
So I have been more vocal than I should be about some of my frustration there. And I made my daughters feel bad, and that really was not the intent. It was just, guys, I need you to communicate this to me and give me an opportunity if we're going to fix it.
There is a frustrating dichotomy that happens where if you communicate in a relatively pleasant manner, nothing happens.
Sometimes.
But if you get cranky about something, you may actually get some traction on an issue.
Yeah, because everybody remembers you got pissed off.
Yeah, because we do very well at avoiding unpleasantness, and we are poorly motivated to make things better.
Yeah. So that's emotional regulation that I did not do the best on, because it is genuinely frustrating, and I've been trying to find opportunities to figure this out and fix it for several months. But also during the winter where, the garage is the wood shop, and due to how it was reconfigured by the previous owner, none of the cars would fit in it anyways. If I'm working on the car, it has to be done outside, and I really try to avoid doing that in the dead of winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So multiple things playing into that, but I didn't handle it great. So what's something that we did well?
Oh, goodness. Well, I've mentioned my wife and I have been successfully working together, cooperating on home repair, which is, judging by the interwebs, a relatively rare thing. It seems.
Um, I'm 50-50 on that in 2 marriages.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think I said when my wife and I were introduced, it was Nick
Hmm.
flying me out to Florida over Thanksgiving. Like, I need some help with my bathroom remodel. Then after half a day, oh, by the way, actually, you need to help her remodel her bathroom. And that
Yeah,
was like 100 hours in 5 days,
that was
including a break for Thanksgiving to
yeah, that was
completely remodel
hilarious.
this bathroom. And it
Hilarious
was
to
like,
watch from a distance.
yeah, because it was like, we did this whole thing. We were replacing rotted out framing. We
Hmm.
took we took over 900 pounds of 1950s tile off the walls.
Wow.
We redid all the plumbing that was not underneath the slab.
Hmm.
And we removed everything from that bathroom except for the bathtub
Dang.
and reframed it and hung drywall and did it and tiled the tub surround and tiled the floor and trimmed around the door, rewired stuff, installed new light fixtures, installed a new vanity,
Hmm.
trimmed around the window, paint, everything in 5 days.
Yep.
And we didn't argue about a single thing. That's where we were like, whoa, this is weird. Because our previous experience had been, attempting to assemble a simple piece of IKEA furniture with our former spouses
Yeah.
did not go well.
No.
And we were like, wow, this is weird, but I like it.
Right. This is new
And
and different and good. Yes, and good.
yeah, and now 8 years later,
Yeah.
six of those we've been married come July.
Yeah.
Um, we're still working together and not yelling at each other,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. But what did I do well? Hell, I'm happy with the direction I've taken things on the website. I'm also learning search engine optimization,
Ooh, SEO.
and so I've taken a break on producing short clips to really work on the website and get it to where it's usable and can actually help drive engagement and traffic for us, because that's kind of a foundational thing to try to grow this thing.
Hmm.
And then we've created a Facebook group. Let me go
Yes, I saw
pull
that.
that up. Which, if you look on Facebook, the group is Unhinged Dads, Real Talk on Raising Kids. Um, it is currently visible, but all the contents are private, and we are setting that up as a community page for ourselves and for listeners to have another avenue to talk about everything related to being dads, fathers, and trying to be better in a mostly judgment-free space.
Oh, we,
Um,
we do judging. We don't judge each other, but we judge plenty of other things.
oh, there will be occasions where somebody's going to have to get called out on some bullshit,
And that's fair.
but that's okay. That's why I said mostly judgment-free, because sometimes you're going to be told, no, dude, you're about as wrong as dick cancer on this one.
Yeah.
But it is intent that is part of trying to build a community that is supportive for dads who are in the trenches. um, I'm not planning on admitting women and moms into that group, keeping it exclusively for fathers and fathers to be, which
Discrimination.
I feel weird about, because I know we have a no, we have a number of women who listen and who watch and who have provided feedback and input. But we're going to try and keep that space for dads only, as private as possible. But you should be aware that it is still on the internet before you go posting there. But please come join us in Unhinged Dads Real Talk on Raising Kids Facebook group.
Yep.
Or are you finally accepting the invite?
Yes, I am.
Good job. It only took you a week.
I turned notifications off on my phone, so I, in theory, use it less. That doesn't. Sorry, I have a nosy dog here.
Hi, kitty.
Yeah.
So we're doing that, and we're going to bring a Substack online in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Get an article a week from each of us, something tangentially related to being a dad. There's probably we're probably end up with some recipes being thrown up some weeks.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of things like bachelor chow, stuff on rice with sauce.
Yeah, I cook a lot of that.
Yep.
So what I've been doing well is branching out and trying to learn some of this stuff and kind of help build the backbone for growth and for building a community and hopefully turning it into something that's paying for itself, or at some point even giving us a little bit of a paycheck. That would be really awesome.
That's that's the dream right there.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing I've done well in the last 2 weeks is I've made income.
Nice.
I mean, I sold this week. I managed to sell 2 of those card shuffler cabinets. Mm-hmm. I've got a buddy doing a big poker tournament this week, so he's had a couple other people come into town, and they've sold those. I had to go pick up his on Tuesday night, and needed a modification made to it. A hole cut out in the back for some ventilation and for rerouting power cord. So I got those, and I was up till like 3:00 in the morning because he needed to have them by midday Wednesday.
Yeah.
But I sold 2 of those, so I've covered my materials cost in those and actually made some profit. And I've gotten some project management fees have come in, and this month, for the first time since I retired, I'll have something approaching like respectable adult income for 1 month, which feels good. I mean, like, even without me making money, we do fine.
Mm-hmm.
We do well, but it has been a bit of a drag internally. Be like, money's going into my shop, money's going into things, and very little is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been good, I guess, for my confidence.
Yeah.
Also, just feels good to know, okay, I've got the bills for the podcast covered for the next year.
There you go. Yeah.
So I'm not.
That's not small.
So if nothing else, this show is not going to impact my family finances in any way.
Yeah.
Which
negatively.
That feels good. Well, yes, negatively. There is the potential for it having a positive effect.
Yes, we have hopes. We have dreams. We even have plans.
Yeah. So things are happening. I've got a massive to-do list, and I have no free time. I haven't touched a video game in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And actually, I feel really good.
Nice.
There's some stress of having a bunch of things on deadlines that have to get done, but at the same time, being anxiously engaged in a whole bunch of stuff feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly beats last year, where this time last year I was about a week after graduating from using a walker to walk around my neighborhood after surgery.
Oof.
So I feel a
Yep.
hell of a lot better than I did last year, and it's in part
Yeah.
because I've got a bunch of things to work on.
That's some substantial improvement right there.
Yeah. So our topic for tonight, it takes a village. And I added the subtext, only if you choose it.
Classic line.
I know.
Classic line.
And part of this, we're going to go back to, you know what, John Ringo,
Yep.
Last Centurion. Just fucking read the book, guys,
Yeah.
so that these references make sense. In talking about community organizations, in the context of the book, it's in the context of a severe flu epidemic that killed like 25% of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
And he talks about functional and non-functional responses. One in several in communities that believed strongly in government enforced community. Of some level of forced communalism of you live here, therefore you are a part of this,
Mm-hmm.
which always seems to end up pushing responsibility off onto everybody else versus voluntary associations.
Yes.
One of the ones that he used was a church group, and how effective they were in dealing with the aftermath of this pandemic, which also came with a huge freeze that killed most of the food crops for a year.
Yep.
So there were food shortages. 25% of the population is dead. Infrastructure is broken everywhere. And looking at how different types of communities actually function under those stresses. And what he showed there is something that's consistent with what I've observed, and that is that voluntary associations are a hell of a lot more functional than the forced ones.
Yeah.
And as for dysfunctional communities, I'm generally not one to jump on the latest internet rage bait, but on this one, I am. We had blow up on Reddit recently a post from a Seattle area life flight pilot who highlighted the issues posed by the Laurelhurst Community Council, which is a neighborhood, a very high-priced neighborhood right next door to Seattle Children's Hospital, where we learned that since 1992, the Laurelhurst Community Council has been interfering in Seattle Children's being able to land helicopters on their helipad. The vast majority of kids who would come direct via life flight to the hospital are diverted 2 miles away, where they have to be transferred to an ambulance because the noise and vibrations from the helicopter disturb the community so much that they force Seattle Children's into an agreement that strictly limits the conditions under which they can land a helicopter at the hospital. And every 6 months, they meet with somebody from the city of Seattle and Seattle Children's to review every single landing and to voice their opposition to most of them.
I've driven you. If you drive across the Lake Washington Bridge in Seattle, and you're headed west, and you look off to your right, you can see some of these houses that are doing the complaining on the waterfront. They're large. They're quite expensive. They're going to be in the multiple millions of dollars evaluation. And I'm just going to say, if you can't afford to put some really good insulation into that one of those houses, then and living there, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. mean, hell, for 13 years, I lived a block and a half away from a trauma center that served most of Utah, about half of Colorado, half of
Hmm.
Arizona, and portions of Wyoming and Nevada.
Yeah.
There were multiple life flight helicopters coming and going every day. It is not that big a deal. But these NIMBY assholes, which if you're not familiar with the acronym, it's not in my
Not in my
backyard,
backyard.
are so incensed over a life flight helicopter landing at the hospital adjacent to their neighborhood that they have forced them to divert most flights 2 miles away where kids have to be transferred by ambulance.
And if you've ever driven in Seattle, 2 miles could be half an hour.
The
Now,
report I said on average it's 22 minutes.
hey, there you go.
That is a
Pretty good.
22-minute delay for a child who is in acute medical distress enough to be taken via helicopter.
Hey, Brian, have you benefited from life flight at any point in your life? Out of curiosity.
Not a life flight helicopter.
Mhm.
When I was brought back from the Philippines in liver failure, a trans-Pacific flight I have zero recollection of. Because I was about to go into a coma from the buildup of toxins in my blood. The last thing I can remember is arguing with my mother in the Manila airport because I wanted more mangoes and Sprite, and she wouldn't let me because she didn't want to deal with me, like throwing something up or something in the 14-hour flight. But we flew to LA, and somebody, one of our neighbors and or a group of them, because I was supposed to go to the medical center at USC, which somebody heard that from my dad and said, sounds like he might be in the hospital for a while. He'd be much better in Salt Lake than in LA for you guys. And so they chartered a private aircraft that flew my dad down to LAX. While they were in the air, they made arrangements through LAX to have us pulled off the plane first, basically just walked through customs, passports were stamped, and right out to the private terminal and onto this plane. Like, we spent less than 30 minutes on the ground to LAX, which if you've ever done an international arrival there, is holy shit.
Yeah.
That took some doing. But the way things worked out, I made it on that flight. Ambulance met us at the Salt Lake private airport. They got me to the hospital, and I was in a coma an hour later and did not wake up for 8 days until after I'd received a liver transplant.
Yep.
So technically, life flight, no.
Not
but
technically.
I was really close.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine your kid is having an acute anaphylactic reaction, and you find out that because of the rich people who live next door to the hospital, their arrival at the hospital was delayed by half an hour because it wasn't serious enough to land the helicopter at the fucking hospital?
Yeah. The land at a facility that is equipped for same.
Yes. Instead, they have to have an ambulance met there. Generally, the ambulance has to get loaded up with special equipment first, then go out there, meet the helicopter, come back. And these people insist on reviewing every helicopter flight that had to land because the noise and vibrations negatively affects their community.
For most of my adult life, I have lived under military flight patterns. You get used to it. You really, really do, to the point where somebody's visiting and, oh my gosh, there's fires going overhead. You're like, oh yeah, no, that's actually a thing. I didn't even notice.
I actually like being in the vicinity of military air bases.
Yeah.
I mean, like being in Wichita Falls, where Shepherd is, with T-38s flying overhead all day, every day. I actually love.
Yep.
But
Wheeler had flights of Chinooks going overhead at,
and those things are loud.
oh man, and fast. Wow. Yeah. Chinooks and Apaches. You had um, the Pax River had all kinds of flights because they
Yeah.
have fighter training school there, as well as a number of experimental test and evaluations, test bed airframes, and then was it Whidbey Island has growlers. They've got the F-18 E's, I guess,
I think
and
it's the
they
isn't the F-18G.
is it
I don't
is it that
remember.
far? Oh,
I don't remember offhand.
Among others.
Either way, it's the electronics warfare variant.
Yeah, and they are so loud. My wife's office building was just kind of off the end of the runway, and so when we would go and meet her, I'd meet her with the kids when they were tiny for hang out during lunch hour, and I was like, yeah, maybe we should get some hearing protection, because held up the decibel reader. It's like 114 decibels when they go past.
Yeah, that is enough to cause damage.
It's hearing damage level. I think that is that has definitely exacerbated my tinnitus.
Yeah. So in doing a little bit of looking, because of course this just pissed me off, I found not only since 1992 has Laurelhurst Community Council been attempting to. 1992 is when they entered into this voluntary agreement.
Oh, voluntary
agreement with Seattle Children's. They have loudly protested and filed lawsuits every time Seattle Children's has tried to expand. Now, mind you, Seattle Children's is the one and only children's trauma center serving all of Washington, most of Oregon, Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, and most of Idaho.
And it would not surprise me if occasionally they get folks coming in from British Columbia as well.
That would not surprise me either.
Because Kanakistan is what it is.
Yes. Let's leave it at that. But so this has been going on since 1992. They have protested and filed lawsuits to block every expansion of the hospital. And I found out that the primary what Seattle Children's Security Department spends the most time doing is ticketing vehicles and ensuring that hospital employees are not parking on the roads in the vicinity of the hospital. They have to have off-site parking with shuttles. Virtually nobody who works there is allowed to park at the hospital. So I have words for the Laurelhurst Community Council and for every resident of that neighborhood who's participated in this bullshit, and that is, please go to hell. Go fuck yourselves. And when you get there, continue on, and then continue on until, due to FTL time dilation, you have exited my fucking timeline. Your supposed right to not have helicopters flying overhead that are bringing children in for life-saving care is bullshit.
Yeah,
so
these kids are actively dying, and you're preventing them from getting their needed care.
And you are obstructing their care. So go to hell, all of you. You should be deeply ashamed. So it may take a village to raise a child. Apparently, it also only takes a village to go and fuck up the medical care of dozens, if not hundreds, of children every year.
Yep.
So now that I'm all angry,
if you choose to, That's a big deal about that. My kids have all been born while uh, my wife was active duty,
Yep.
which means that we have been a military family the whole time they've been alive. And when you do not choose to put down roots, um, you are going to lose out on support,
Hmm.
because it's hard to be a parent. It's even harder to be a parent when you don't have anybody you can call to say, hey, can you take the kid? Can you take child A for a couple hours while child B has a thing because reason?
You mean, say, some kind of school event that you'd really not try to deal with an 18-month-old at?
School event. One is needs to go to the ER, and your active duty spouse is lawfully required to be at a certain place and time,
Yep.
maybe overseas, and you have a small child, another small child who doesn't understand that the ER is not a place to run around screaming because they're bored out of their mind.
Yep.
I am fortunate enough not to have had to deal with that particular scenario, but I know people who have.
Yeah.
If you have somebody you can call and say, "Hey, can you come over?" or "Hey, can I drop them with you?
That
Can
can
you
be a
take?"
big help.
Yeah, enormous. And putting down roots is hard, especially when you know people are going to up and leave because they get orders on a different schedule than you do,
Yep.
and then you get orders and you're going to leave everybody, all the locals, and odds are good you're probably not going to communicate a lot afterwards. It sucks to make friends and to extend trust to people and then just kind of cut those off because you're multiple time zones away and it's hard.
Yeah, because you moved two time zones away on 3 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
You guys didn't do 3 weeks' notice when you moved to Texas, did you?
No, 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 no. We are fortunate. My wife's community, and when I was active, my community um, likes to plan things a little bit farther ahead for most people.
That's good.
Uh, Officers often get absurdly short notice. I know Kristen Oat has ended up getting a month or a month and a half notice on a move here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Like I said, my father-in-law is a retired Air Force colonel,
Yeah.
and where my primary project management stuff right now is working on building their house here that they're relocating to. I've been hearing stories. They have purchased 3 houses in which at least one of them had never seen it prior to signing the papers.
Oh yeah.
One of those, neither of them had actually seen it. They
Yep.
knew the people that they were buying it from because
That's
they
not
served
unusual.
with them elsewhere,
Yeah.
but they had never physically walked the house
Yeah.
before they purchased it.
A number of places that my wife and I lived before the kids were born. She was deployed, so I went and walked the place and took pictures and talked through things, and I made decisions because you do.
Yeah, which yeah, that's the real point we're going here. We can go on about how forced communalism, and everything else just tends to be really dysfunctional because those kinds of organizations tend to reward those who are not motivated to contribute
Yeah.
and actively penalizes the people who are willing to contribute. So, voluntary communities. How do you go about building a community to help you raise your children when you're like Dave and moving every couple of years at the at the whims of the Department of War and the Department of the Navy. Or hell, if you're like me and until this house is built, the closest relatives my wife has are in Colorado Springs,
Mm-hmm.
which is a 9 to 12 hour drive away.
Yep.
I'm estranged from most of my extended family, although most of them don't live locally anyways. My mother lives almost an hour away, but she works full time, and she takes care of my little sister's kids multiple days a week. So she's really not available.
The close grandparents are a roughly 14-hour drive away.
Yeah.
The distant ones are about 24, 25 hours driving time. So that's 3 very long days.
Yep. So you don't have family.
Yeah.
How?
You know,
I mean, for me, frankly, a lot of my support community is not physically located anywhere near me.
Yeah. Yes, it's the pie chart. Where my friends live, the 2 or 3 degree slice is local. The rest of it is fucking Narnia or some shit.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so for us, we have a couple of different Discord servers where we can try and stay in touch with people, and
Yep.
that is good for the emotional support. We talked a few episodes back about friendships and keeping
Mm-hmm.
those touch points. The irreverent group chats where you mostly share memes that would get you fired from most jobs.
Yeah.
Are actually beneficial for you and for your mental health and for your sense of community. But sometimes that doesn't quite feel like enough, especially when you're like displaced from your house for, what are we, about 9 months now?
Yes.
I mean,
honestly, if we're back in there in a meaningful way before 12 months goes by, I'm counting it as a big win.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah, how do you deal with it? We've explored some daycare options. Base has the Center for Child Development Center, which is usually referred to as the CDC, and was very confusing when I did not have children. And my friends with children kept mentioning the CDC, and I said, "Are they ill?" And they would give me the look like, "What's wrong with you?" Bases do not have a local center for disease control. They have the Child Development Center, which is functionally daycare / preschool / after school program for older kids, etc. And that's an option, but it's one you got to pay for. And frankly, I like my kids enough that I want to be around them even when they drive me insane.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just dump them so that I have roughly 8 hours a day uninterrupted, as nice as that would be.
Which, let's be honest, you would be spending that at some job that would mostly just pay for the daycare fees.
Yeah. I mean, although things could get interesting in the next several months, just as we are aiming toward my wife retiring from the military and figuring out what we want our lives to look like going forward.
Yeah. I mean,
unless, of course, she gets promoted this cycle, and then all bets are off.
And then you're Mr. Chief.
Yes. Don't you know what our rank is?
Yeah, that clip actually performed really well on the YouTube Shorts algorithm.
I bet it did.
I think it resonated with people.
I I'm glad. I feel that one.
Yeah. So your community
Hmm.
that I would say is in some degree actively involved in helping raise your kids
Yep.
is mostly located in fucking Narnia.
Yes. The close friends whom I could call to say, I need you in the middle of the night. Yeah. The closest ones are about 3.5 hours drive away. Um, on the other hand, we made the choice in at Whidbey Island. We did not build as good of a community as we would have liked. It was better than when we were at Pax River. Pax River, we had a couple of friends total by the time we left. And we were there for almost 5 years. Uh, when we got here, we said we are going to find people, and honestly, it's easier because the kids have friends, and you get to know the parents, and at least you've got that connection.
Yeah.
We have found a few that we really enjoy hanging out with. Not that we do very often because we've been busy lately.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, a little bit. Um, but we've church actually has been a big help. Church and base, honestly. Look for these structures in your life that encourage relationship. Whether that's work people, coworkers, you can hang out with coworkers if you find someone that you maybe share a couple of interests with that are not spreadsheets, unless you're really into spreadsheets.
You know, I have I well I have one friend from my last job who I'm
Yeah.
still kind of in touch with. The guy's a spreadsheet wizard.
Dude,
I may
spreadsheets are awesome.
I I yeah, let's not go into some of the things like vacation planning that I've made extensive spreadsheets for.
Yeah.
But I introduced him to multiple single female friends as, hey, this is Dave. We work together. He's our freak in the sheets. And then he goes, spreadsheets. I'm like, Dave, you just
Yeah.
ruined it, man. What the hell?
Yeah. Dude, you don't shoot yourself in the foot, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you have connections at work. If church is your thing, church. I mean,
Hmm.
honestly, churches are one of the best ways to build community.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I have had my fill of religion. I think for my life, I I don't see myself being an active participant in any church community anytime soon. You
Hmm.
know, and like our neighborhood, you know, we're in a subdivision that was built in the early 90s. Most of my neighbors are in their 60s and 70s.
Oh wow.
There are now, I think, 7 out of 82 houses in this development that are owned by people under the age of 50.
Mm.
And so there isn't much in the way of built-in community there. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got all these old people who are really appreciative that we've taken the shittiest house in the neighborhood and have put tons of work into it and have fixed it up from being the eyesore of the neighborhood to being the example of water-wise attractive desert landscaping. Of course then I go and I ruin everything by working on cars in the driveway, and that upsets some of them. But they can kiss my
Oh
ass.
no. Fair.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually interesting because as the neighborhood's starting to turn over to people in our generation, and we were in their 30s and 40s and are in occupations where they can afford to buy these houses. More and more of us are blue collar. Oh, great! The Air Force is screwing up Dave's connection.
A little bit.
There we go. I can see you again. We'll see how that affects our files for editing and compiling the video. But yeah, honestly, for us, we don't have many friends who also have kids, and so a lot of that is on us. So, support is talking with people like Dave who live over in Narnia, and we've got a few people who we could call and say, hey, can you come over here and keep an eye on the other 5 while this one goes to the ER or something. But fortunately, my daughters are 18, 17, and 16, so they can manage themselves. And even my boys, the youngest is 11, they can handle being left home alone for a few hours now. Not as much of an issue as it was. But for us, building community and building that chosen family, we call it. Shit. Oh well.
Yeah, that's gonna screw with things.
It's okay. I'll make it work somehow. I'm going to kick your other presence off. Team member. Co-host cannot be kicked out. Please remove member from your team. Thanks, Streamlabs.
Outstanding.
Thanks. That's great. So, anyways, trying to build that chosen family. Damn it, Dave's frozen again. Has to be an intentional thing. When Dave and Mrs. Dave and the Davelings are traveling and visiting family, they overnight at our house when possible.
God. Give me a sec. I'm going to restart.
Okay.
Things.
Air Force is kicking our asses
I'll be right
today.
Back. Yeah, it is. Oh, goodness.
But in intentionally building, we have Dave and Mrs. Dave come and stay at our house, and we'll usually try and stay for 2 or 3 days in the middle of long cross-country drives, because children hate sitting in a car for 16 hours at a piece.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity to hang out and eat some good food that Dave didn't have to cook.
Always a nice thing.
And to have an opportunity to, crack open a couple of bottles and enjoy in some shared community. And that usually means we're up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning the first night that they're here, because we're catching up and we're just haven't seen each other in a year.
Yep.
The other thing we do, our other would-be co-host, if he weren't so damn busy, Nick has been my best friend for a really long time now.
Yeah.
Realizing that I've been friends, people I consider my close friends, who I met online, I've known for like 15 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
crazy.
Because it feels like it was, maybe a couple of years ago, but then talking about things that have happened, it's like, no, actually that was practically forever and a half.
Yeah. My divorce was almost 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Feels like it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But no, my marriage is now beyond the halfway point as far as time as my first one. But with Nick, he decided he wanted to be really intentional about the chosen family thing once his daughter was born.
Yeah.
So for the last 3 years, we've done a week-long family vacation with them. We go rent a cabin somewhere, and we hang out for the week, and let his daughter go be an extrovert at multiple other people. Give mom and dad a little bit of
also
break.
Extroverted. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm hoping, as much as much as I would be very happy to see Mrs. Dave be promoted and be continuing on, I would also be really happy if the pressures of the Navy were off and we could include Dave and Mrs. Dave in this annual thing.
That would be a lot of fun, because we have spent one of the great things about the time we spent at Whidbey Island was that I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and so
Yep.
I have friends in the area, and we would go visit them, and then getting down to visit Nick and his family a couple of times, and then getting iced in on our move. That was fun.
Getting iced in 2 nights before you got robbed in front of my house. Oh my God.
I mean, it's it's resilience building.
That's a very positive way to phrase that.
You genuinely do kind of get used to the chaos. It is the weirdest thing.
But and then Nick usually will usually show up here about a day after Christmas and stay through about New Year's, because the way things go for us around Christmas with child custody schedules and stuff, it is damn near impossible for us to try and travel around that time of year.
Yeah.
So they come here through frigid Salt Lake and we hang out, and this last year was better than the year before because the year before, the day after they got there, everybody but me came down with norovirus.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Oh, dude. I spent like 6 days running 7 to 8 loads of laundry a day that was just mostly all stuff that had been puked on.
Yep. Oh, wow.
And I had meals planned out. We were we were doing multiple different kinds of curries because it's always fantastic when it's snowy outside.
Oh yeah.
And nobody wanted to eat a damn thing.
Nope.
And somehow the immune compromised organ transplant recipient is the one person who did not get sick, despite the fact that I was cleaning up after everybody. The carpet cleaner got to work out. The washing machine and dryer got to work out. And
oh yeah.
I mean, resilience building, sure.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a great get together.
No. But at least somebody could be supportive.
Yes.
I mean, that somebody was you for everybody else.
Yeah, we went through a lot of Pedialyte.
Yeah, you would.
And that was, let's see, his daughter was a year and a half old, so she was the same. She was about the same age as your youngest.
Yeah.
So still, she had like a dozen words, and is trying to express how sick she feels as she's puking on everything.
Yep.
But she recalled that clearly enough that that come this last Christmas, I told her we're going to go visit Uncle Brian. She said, I want to go visit Uncle Brian, but I don't want to throw up.
I can appreciate that. I want to visit Uncle Brian too, and I also do not want to throw up.
I'd also take not having your shit stolen or your house flooded out while you're at my house.
Dude, we're gonna break this streak at some point. It's gonna be awesome.
We just have to keep trying.
Yeah, right. Eventually, the odds will be in our favor.
I've been beating the odds for a long time now, so
yeah, you have.
We're at 22 years this November, which is unreal.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, building community that helps you raise your kids has to be a voluntary thing. It's the only kind of organization that actually works.
Yeah, and shared interests are a big deal, and realistically, religion is a shared interest.
Yes, absolutely.
Activities are shared interest. uh, gun clubs, fishing clubs, car clubs. Heck, I have participated in Civil War reenactment because I had friends who were interested in that, and I happen to like history. Um, you know, there's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I at one point I was involved in a couple of different D&D games during the week, and I have cut back on that, which is kind of a bummer. But
Kids
also,
require more time now.
kids require more time now, and I've been kind of busy lately.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to get to know people, because here's the thing: when you have an activity you're participating in, then you have a narrowed set of interaction possibilities.
Hmm.
Going and meeting somebody without any kind of guardrails is get a recipe for disaster, because boundaries give you freedom. Good
Oh, we could
boundaries
do a
give,
whole episode on that.
I know, right? Good boundaries give you freedom. They give you the freedom to act without concern for serious consequences. You can the more predictable interactions are, the easier it's going to be to form relationships.
Yep. I mean, I've made quite a few friends through the competitive shooting community.
Mhm.
Yeah, which makes it a lot easier to not start making friends with somebody and then find out that they're extraordinarily put off by the fact that you're a bit of a gun nut.
Right. Yeah. I can predict mostly how most military people are going to act, if not think. Uh,
Yeah.
the nice thing about the church that I go to is that, for various reasons, including my father having been a pastor for 40 years, I am able to form a friendship with other pastors, because several of my college buddies are pastors now,
Wow.
and yeah, multiple. It's one of those. It's one of those, including guys where it's like, wait, Dave went to seminary. That seems weird.
I remember when he had a different girl every other week.
Yeah, not quite that bad, but yes, yeah, um, definitely akin to, yes, and so it's being able to build those relationships, because more or less how to act in a certain set of circumstances.
Yeah, within context, it matters.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't have a context, I mean, what was that? Nasty, Brutish, and Short. Is that David Hume?
I think so.
I think
Don't
so.
quote me on that.
Yeah, but the state of nature is savage
I'm highly
uh,
competitive.
and highly competitive. Civilization provides context for people to not have to assert their preemptive rights of self-defense on everyone around them just to survive.
Yes.
And building relationships is an outgrowth of that, because we are social creatures. If you want to make friends, you need to be normal enough that they feel safe around you, and unusual enough that they are attracted to you.
Let's say, or abnormally enough that they're drawn to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
which has been kind of weird. My accidental community building
Mm-hmm.
has been Halloween.
Yeah.
Which started out with a couple of years ago. Pull the fire pit out onto the front porch and give away beer to the grown-ups who want it. Despite the fact
Yep.
we're in Salt Lake, you'd be surprised at how many are like, oh hell yes. But
Well,
that has progressed now to the gigantic pirate display. And what I'm working on this year is actually I'm having my mother-in-law making a jacket for me to do a full pirate costume.
nice.
I'm going to have I'm going to pick up a cutlass, real one,
flintlock.
and I am looking at some of the build your own black powder pistol kits.
Oh, fun.
Flintlock is a
Mad Mike has got
possibility.
his hands on some.
I may also do cap lock just because it's easier.
Cap lock is a lot easier. Wheel lock would be nifty.
That's expensive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these kits. They run $300 or $400.
Yeah.
And
wheel lock is I want to
I need a watchmaker,
but I want to cut it down, and I want the mechanism to be a mechanical watch.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're super cool.
They are super cool. Kind of finicky.
Yes. So when I get there, it will probably be a cap lock, and I'll buy a kit so I can distress and finish the wood myself, and probably distress the metal and stuff. And then I'm gonna have to see whether or not I can get away with shoving light loads of powder and a wad down it to fire off into the air at random intervals.
Be really cool.
It would be fun as hell. I'm not sure how that's going to play with city ordinances.
Yeah, you could probably get away with the old Blackbeard style of winding some slow matches. You might have to make the slow match, but that's just
I know where I can get it.
There you go.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that too. I mean, we're working on getting my beard to where it can be braided.
Yeah.
And actually, I've realized I'm about at the maximum possible length before I start risking getting it caught in the router table or something.
Yeah.
Which would be really bad
without the braiding. Yeah. Because
then I have to like braid it and tuck it into my shirt and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's potential there, but it has actually served to draw more people into the neighborhood on Halloween. Mm-hmm. And because our neighborhood is nice and it's closed off and eminently walkable, a lot of people who live around will go and walk their dogs or take their kids on walks through our neighborhood because there's very little traffic and the sidewalks are well maintained. And so when I'm out in the shop, I usually have, if the weather's nice, I have the garage door open for ventilation. And I end up in random conversations with people who actually started going through the neighborhood because of my Halloween display.
There you go.
So we've actually built some casual relationships that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's helped serve as a point of connection with some of the other younger people who are moving into the neighborhood. It was given a reason for an impetus to connection, and then building those connections outside of that context, which I did not expect at all. But we've been casually keeping track of how much candy is consumed, and in the last 4 years, we've more than doubled the number of people who are trick-or-treating through our neighborhood.
That's impressive.
And from what we're seeing, that's primarily because of us.
I believe it,
which is cool. I mean, it's generated goodwill. Yeah, there's whoever the first 2 years I did it called the police because I was distributing alcohol without a license, and the cops showed up and they're like, "Are you selling alcohol?" I'm like, "No." I am
No.
sharing beers with my friends as they come by.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's legal. Okay.
well, technically, Salt Lake has some pretty strict open container laws.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, are you guys really going to go and try and see who has a singular beer walking around the neighborhood? I said, come on, they're not. I said, they're unless if they weigh more than 50 pounds at 4.2% ABV, they're not going to go over even our point oh five limit. They're like, nah.
0.05. That's crazy.
Yeah, Utah dropped the legal limit from point oh 0.08 to point oh 0.05,
Wow.
and were greatly dismayed because they lost several $1 million worth of revenue on DUIs. Because that got to the point where just depending on how you metabolize, one drink might put you over the limit.
Yeah.
And so it really motivated people to not take the chance and to use Uber and stuff. So actually, the number of DUI arrests went way down and caused budget problems.
That's the kind of budget shortfall I can really get behind.
Oh yeah, that's actually the best kind of unintended consequence.
I get such a kick when out of government getting shafted by their own clever ideas.
Yeah. So that's actually turned out well, and I wasn't horribly opposed to the change anyways because guys,
Yeah, you should
driving while even possibly intoxicated is not okay.
Yeah,
That's just don't do it at all.
that is a recipe for disaster,
Yes.
and it never ends well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just don't. Buzz driving is drunk driving, and whether you might be just at the limit or just under, just don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best policy. Yeah, and actually there were some departments like Utah Highway Patrol had pinned their budgetary hopes on increased revenues, and instead had a shortfall. It was beautiful.
That's fun to watch in real time.
Oh yeah, I was like, if any of you understood program design and incentives, you would have predicted this.
Yeah.
But evidently, not many people understand that at least as well as I do. That's one of my perpetual hobby horses is program design and perverse incentives, and learning how to incentivize the behavior you want.
Yes. It's that honestly, that's another episode right there. How do you incentivize the behavior you want to see?
Yeah, I have rants multiple that everybody who knows me has heard one or more of on the topic of perverse incentives. The best analogy I have is my work in industrial safety.
Mm-hmm.
Which hell, we do tangents.
Oh yeah.
So, most workplaces, the idea is you don't want to have reported accidents because you don't want people getting injured.
Yeah.
Well, at least if you're a decent manager, it's because you don't want people getting injured at work. We work to live. We do not live to work, and our work should not have a negative impact on our ability to live our lives outside of us. You should not be getting harmed at work.
Mm-hmm.
The way that a lot of places do it is they place incentives on not having reported accidents.
Yes.
If we go the entire year with no reported incidents, then we're giving away a car at a random raffle. I've seen that. And you know what that incentivizes?
Not reporting things.
It incentivizes not reporting. Because the person who does report a minor injury gets hazed by everybody else because you just screwed it up for everybody.
Yep.
So if your goal is to avoid paperwork, you incentivize not reporting so that people don't tell you about their minor accidents.
Yep.
Now, what the data from OSHA and others will show you is that for every major accident that results in loss of limb, loss of life, or injury that requires more than a week off of work, there are 10 to 15 minor accidents in that same area. So if your intent is to ensure that those major accidents never happen, what you want is to be collecting the most amount of data possible on the minor ones so that you can identify your problem areas that you need to work on.
Yes.
So what you want to do is you want to incentivize reporting of every minor injury so that you can take corrective action before one of the major injuries happens.
Yes.
That's the exact opposite of how most workplace safety programs are designed.
See, also security violations.
Security is another one. Holy
That's
shit.
a huge one. I know that the instructors encourage the students to report minor security violations, typically self-reporting on themselves.
Yep.
Because that teaches them how to deal with a security violation. And if there are no major consequences, then they, there's a bit of a walk of shame. And yes, I brought my cell phone. I accidentally brought my cell phone into the skiff, which is a security violation. It's a problem. But if you then turn around and say, okay, the first time infractions are going to get a severe penalty, then what you're encouraging students who are not practiced in security to not get good at practicing security. They get good at practicing deception.
Yes.
And so you end up with unreported security violations instead of reported ones.
Yeah. And so that can go right with disciplining children. Hell, maybe that's what we should do next week.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. We're going to, yeah. So next week we will hit perverse incentives and program design and incentivizing good behavior. And I'll figure out a workable title out of some of that somehow. But segue over.
Right.
Building community.
Yeah. And those kinds of policy shifts, whether that's in a family level or at a command or corporation level, discourages building community.
It does. Because it places more friction points in between people.
Yeah.
That's true. Because if you're in a situation where if reporting something you're supposed to report is going to result in lots of social shame and people being mad at you for doing what you were ostensibly supposed to do but is not actually incentivized, that encourages distrust.
Yep.
And that increases interpersonal friction and decreases the ability to build relationships. Something that we all got to see in great light in the great panicdemic of 2020 through 2023, 24, depending on where you were. As we saw, as we found the people in our neighborhoods who were willing to call the police if they saw an extra car parked at your house. Yeah. They're having an unauthorized gathering. I think that I mean honestly, I think some of the things that were done around COVID, and we're not going to jump into that. I mean,
that gets critical.
I mean, I have, I had one of the blog posts that demonstrated via CDC's data that we hit community transmission on COVID at the week after Thanksgiving in 2019, 4 months before anybody was making noise about it,
Yes.
which actually
Um,
got CDC to shut down the publication of all their flu view data because myself and several others pointed it all out within a couple of weeks of each other.
yep.
I can go on long rants
Oh yeah.
about the mismanagement of that
Well,
entire crisis.
hell, we were all in Salt Lake the following February for LTUE, and we talked about it,
Mhm.
about this weird thing that was starting to go around,
Yeah,
and
that
the
I've been
data
watching since October.
and the study that was being cited for wearing masks and how inaccurately that data was actually being applied. Cloth masks, the cloth masks that they were talking about were 12 to 16 layers of cloth bound around the head. It
Mhm.
wasn't, a cute print hanging under your nose,
Uh-huh.
as I saw any number of times.
Yes. But of all the things that the many things that happened around that, I think that was one of the biggest events that caused a fracturing of community.
Hmm.
And I mean, hell, we've seen. I mean, we've seen in some of the numbers coming out from mental health around that.
Oh yeah.
It harmed a lot of people because it destroyed communities. It disconnected people. It disconnected people from family members who were dying
Yep. We know people who died alone. We know people who,
needlessly.
yeah, needlessly, and we know people who watched ostensibly through a window as their loved ones died
Hmm. I
alone.
know or knew two people who died of cancer that they would have survived had they been allowed to have it treated.
Yep.
Um, I, well, hell, I had spine surgery for a badly herniated disc in July of 2019. 6 months later, as I was supposed to start physical therapy for that, they banned me from doing physical therapy because I'm immune compromised. Because physical therapy is all high touch environment and stuff, so they would not let me do physical therapy, and that had serious deleterious effects on me.
Hmm.
I've only now, after reconstruction of my abdominal wall, have I actually been able to work on fixing those muscles and improving my core strength
Yeah.
as much as I can with half my abdominal muscles non-functional. But that destroyed community. It
Oh,
destroyed people's
absolutely.
feelings of connection because you didn't know who was going to try to narc on you.
Well, and we disenrolled our kids from school because they came home for spring break and never went back because it kept being, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then
Uh-huh.
it's going to be another couple of weeks, and
Really
Washington State
stupid.
got really stupid, and I I disenrolled the kids because I said I'm not going to have my daughter was in pre-K and my son at the time was a first grader. I'm not going to force my first grader to sit and listen to watch YouTube videos of lectures by his first grade teacher
Uh-huh.
and then force him to do worksheets. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But that cut off all of most of the relationships that we had at the time.
Yeah. We didn't have that option because we were both working full time, and facilities managers got a ton of work heaped on us because like my company was based in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and we had 26 offices scattered around the country. So we were working full time to stay on top of the changing regulations every week, and
Mhm.
establishing tracking protocols for who came into the office. And they set up testing protocols. We had a company that was sending out at home tests, and you had to submit your test results the day before to be able to go into the office for any reason, which
Yep.
meant that for me, I was doing at home tests 3 times a week because I was an essential worker who had to be in the office. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I was in 100,000 square feet of space as one of 3 people.
Yep. That's you're not actually encountering someone required some certain specific intentionality.
Yeah, but there was all this stuff, and of course, we're on second marriage. All of our kids are subject to custody agreements. So if we were to disenroll them from school and try to homeschool, we would have to do that in coordination with the co-parents, and
Hmm.
that was not happening.
That would have been a nightmare. That'd be a
It,
nightmare if everybody's trying to cooperate.
yeah, and if you're involved in a more fractious co-parenting relationship, trying to wrangle homeschool where kids are at one house one week and at another house the next,
Hellish.
not hellish, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be approaching impossible if the relationships were easy. But who has a totally easy, friendly relationship with somebody that divorced 2 years prior?
Yeah.
We didn't have the option of pulling them from school.
Yeah.
And to this day, my daughters were all in junior high when this happened. To this day, we are still combating their anxiety
Yeah.
because they're our kids. They were already prone to some amount of anxiety and or depression. But when
Hmm.
the school and junior high, that's an anxiety inducing social situation. Just everybody dying of hormone overload as it
Yeah.
at baseline.
The newly biologically insane.
Yes, the newly biologically insane. Junior high is just hell for everybody.
Yeah.
But when the schools finally opened back up, we had a whole list of, if you have these symptoms, you have to go home, and you need to pick up your child within 30 minutes of being called. So you know what? They feel anxious about school, they get a stomach ache, and they have to go home. And
Yep.
they enforce that for an entire year. And so now we're still dealing with, when they get anxious, they have physical manifestations, they feel sick, and that has been an effective means of avoiding the thing that is making them anxious, which is going to school.
Yeah.
We are still trying to combat that 5 years later, because at a very important time in their development, that anxiety being expressed that way was heavily reinforced.
Yes.
If you got a stomach ache or if you got a headache that was on the symptoms list, you had to go home. There was no, she's okay.
Yeah.
She needs to stay in class. It was, no, you have to come pick her up and you need to be here within 30 minutes.
And there were legal teeth that would be employed behind all of that.
Yes. So you had people reporting on each other, sowing distrust everywhere. You had people being scared to be in contact with anybody. It destroyed communities
Yep.
all over the place. We're still recovering from that.
Oh yeah. We set the development of an entire generation back by years.
If not permanently stunted them socially in
Yes.
some ways, I think.
We're watching that working out in the outcomes related to marriage and reproduction.
We are. And something my therapist pointed out to me recently is basically now childhood goes to 25.
Yep.
because it was we're talking about kind of my internal dialogue of what I think my 16 or 17-year-old should be capable of, and I'm being told by the family therapist that that's not a realistic expectation. And it's, well, childhood has kind of been extended, and especially with the COVID kids, they had important parts of their social development that were stalled for several years, and I think we're seeing in many cases never really got going again.
Yeah.
I mean some of the long-term data on that's going to be incredibly interesting, which has made the chosen family, your voluntary community associations, incredibly important for the social development of your children.
Yeah.
Because we went through 2 or 3 years where play dates, which I hate the entire concept of a play date, of a scheduled from this time to this time. I mean, we'd get on our bikes and show up at our friend's house like, hey, can John play? Can Dave play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be like, okay, we'll be home in time for dinner. That's be home by 5:30. Or
assuming you couldn't tag team their parents and your parents into letting you stay somewhere else for dinner.
Yes.
And into the evening, because then you don't have to stop playing.
Yeah, but now we have scheduled play dates. I mean, we had my youngest had a friend come over on Friday because they have early out day every Friday. They get out at like 12:30. Had a friend come over on Friday, and his mom dropped him off. She's like, "When do you want me to pick him up?" I was like, "Hell, you can pick him up tomorrow for all I care."
Right?
Like your kid's your kid's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, they're welcome whenever.
You can pick him up whenever. If you want to grab him some pajamas and a toothbrush, he can just spend the night. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
She's like, "Well, I was thinking like 4:00." I was like, "Okay, whatever."
Well, when you want to.
But I was like, "No, your kid's awesome. We love him. He can stay here. He can be here for as long as you want. I mean, hell, just if you want to bring him by any afternoon, just say, hey, can we bring him by?" And I'll be, and as long as people are home, I'll be like, yeah, sure.
Well, and you mentioned that when we were young, it was hop on your bike and go knock on a door. You can't do that anymore. Like, my kids' friends live far enough away that there has to be motorized transportation involved.
Yeah, I mean, especially where we are in a metro mess.
Yeah,
you get more than a couple blocks away, it involves crossing major thoroughfares, and you cannot just turn a 8-year-old on a bike loose on that because they're going to get run over.
Oh yeah. And the other side of that is that the number of times children have been picked up by the police for walking themselves to school or the park, or to get an ice cream cone or a candy bar or something.
We haven't had that happening here, at least not to my kids.
Yeah,
maybe in some other neighborhoods.
I haven't seen it a lot recently, but the news has been a little more eventful in the last while.
Trust me, on the Current Events and Politics podcast, I know. It's one of the reasons we don't do politics here.
Yeah. Yes, we'd like to keep those things separate
as much as possible. I mean, in some cases, it's pretty obvious where we stand, but we try to not make that the focus.
But for a few years, it seemed like the news would pop up with, so and such parent arrested for letting their children walk to the neighborhood park alone.
Mm-hmm. I think there's been some backlash on that.
Mm-hmm. I hope so.
That is reversed some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, I've had people in my neighborhood here like, your kid was out walking around with a dog by themselves. Like, yeah, that's their chore for the day.
Yeah, they walk the dog. It's required.
Oh, I just don't know about children being out by themselves. I worry about them. I was like, lady,
Are,
let me
are
worry
they
about let me worry about my own kids. Thanks.
are they your kids? Well, then you're not legally obligated to worry about them.
Yeah, please just go do whatever the hell people in their 70s do. Leave my kids alone.
Yeah.
But for several years, even play dates were an iffy to non-existent thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which put our kids, the only place they were interacting with their peers was online. What is
Yep.
the worst place for pubescent teens to be interacting? The place where you can say anything with no consequences.
Yes. Where there's no accountability, where the consequences won't hit you until you're trying to get a job.
And that's only if you really go overboard.
Right. Where you have unlimited access to uh, violence and porn and uh, the darkest parts of the interwebs, the
The
comment
darkest
section,
parts of
for example.
humanity.
Yeah.
Reddit.
X.
Reddit's worse than X.
Reddit's way worse than X. X, you actually have to go looking for people being really unpleasant to each other. It's usually in political
Yeah.
commentation.
But Reddit, it's everywhere.
Reddit's everywhere, and
I believe
it's
you said it. Reddit is where the devil goes to make potty.
yeah, it used to be 4chan, but man, I've known some channers, and they're decent human beings generally.
They're weird as hell generally.
Well, I mean, yeah,
But I
okay,
mean, that's normal for us.
right. I'm used to that.
Sorry, we gathered around a few weirdo science fiction authors, and that's how like our entire group of friends
Yeah.
began 15 to 20 years ago, back on the Baines bar, even before social media. Or
Oh, yeah.
I was following Ian and company on the old gun forums before social media was invented.
The
Those
firing line
relationships
days.
go back. The firing line and the high road.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, still that was one of the weirdest things. It's when Jim Curtis hands me his business card, which shows you
Yeah.
how old he is.
Yep.
Old NFO, and I went, holy shit. I was messaging with you on High Road 2 months ago while I was having a conversation with you by your name on Facebook. It's it's one of those like Mobius things.
And that is exactly what we're talking about. Shared interests, similar shared values.
Mm-hmm.
Your relationship should be shared based on shared values if you want them to last. Shared interests if you want to do things together. Find the people doing the things you like to do.
Yeah, find the people whose weird vibes with your weird.
Yeah.
Honestly. Which is where being a nerd, I kind of say being a nerd is just being enthusiastic about something.
Yeah, without shame.
Yeah, I like
openly enthusiastic.
Like I have my buddy who's a realtor who I know from the competitive shooting world, who's really into poker, which has led me to actually making some money off of making cabinets to hold these $10,000 card shufflers they use for these private poker tournaments.
And poker's genuinely fascinating. It's applied psychology.
It is. It doesn't capture my interest, but he's really into it.
Well, and I don't particularly want to engage in it, but I do find it interesting.
Yeah. But that's that we have a connection one place. He's made some good money off of commissions from people I've referred to him. I'm making money off of building stuff for his for people for his other hobby.
Yep.
That's connection. That's community. That's finding your touch points and building on it and doing it intentionally. In this case, it's a relationship that's actually making money for both of us, but that's not normally how that works.
No, it's nice when it does.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, making money is great, but it's connection. It's being not alone. It's having other people that your kids can relate to. I mean, before we went live, Dave's now, gosh, she's the middle child now.
I know.
She's not a middle child psychologically.
No. Well, and our youngest is enough younger that the some of those things don't really click.
Yeah.
In the same way, which is
there's pluses and minuses.
Yep.
I mean, you can talk to my younger daughter, who went from being the baby of the house to being number 5 out of 6.
Yes.
And I think she's still reeling some from that transition sometimes.
Absolutely.
She would really like to continue to be the baby.
Yeah.
As opposed to the second oldest. But she'll come up and she's coming up and she's talking to me and wanting to tell me stuff. Well, Dave's like, no, go away. We're 10 minutes late on the live stream. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and late at night, and she's got one task that she needs to accomplish before she's supposed to get into bed, and really that should have happened 20 minutes ago. But she's also a little bit manic and
baseline every day.
And very oppressively chatty.
Yes. She would happily sit down and talk with me for the entirety of the length of this podcast.
Oh, she would do it in a heartbeat.
She would be she would get excited about doing that. And it might not even matter who she was talking to, but the fact that she's known me for like all of her life that she can remember. I think I first met her in person when she was like 4.
Yeah.
Is that the first time you guys brought them to LTUE? They were like 4 and 5.
Was it? Probably.
I'm not sure. They were little. Oh, they were
pretty little. They're never going to be. They're probably not going to be large people. My wife and I are. I was thrilled when the height averages dipped a while back, and I got to be average height again. That was exciting.
Dave and Mrs. Dave are meine Kampfzwergen.
Yes.
My battle dwarves.
Yep.
Sometimes I love German. Sometimes I really hate it.
German's a fascinating language. If it wasn't for the conjugation, I'm really good with language when I don't have to conjugate things.
The thing that trips me up are gendered conjugations.
Gendered conjugations, declensions are weird.
Yeah, Romance languages screw with me because everything's gendered.
Yeah.
Asian languages make a lot more sense because nothing has a gender.
Exactly.
Including the words that you would use for he or she. They are the same word in every Asian and every East Asian and Central Asian language I've delved into at all.
Chinese writes them differently, but it's pronounced the same way.
Yeah, like you have to figure out who's being referred to, whether or not they're male or female, by other context.
Yep.
Weird language stuff. But shit, where were we going?
Well, we were talking about my overly social, the social dynamics of young children, and it's
she knows me. I'm Uncle Brian.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she will happily sit and tell me, give me that whole, I'm 10 years old. Here's my stream of consciousness and everything I thought of during the day that I think you might or might not be interested in, or at least are willing to listen to me chatter about.
Well, and our two older ones are, they read all the same manga and watch most of the same anime, and so they're fortunately able to chatter at each other about the details. But as soon as they start to talk to us, my wife and I just kind of glaze over. It's like, child, I don't have this. It's not that I don't want you to share things with me. It's that I don't have the cycles at the end of the day to even have that happening close to me.
Hmm. But yeah, she will happily sit down and do that same thing with me because I'm Uncle Brian.
Yes.
She's known me for as long as she
Oh,
can remember.
we have. I mean, Uncle Peter and Aunt Dorothy.
Uh huh.
The kids love going there because Peter and Dorothy love the two of them. They're just great fun, and because they're able to converse at a high enough level that
Yes,
it's it's interesting to talk to them.
it is. But that's that's community. That's
Yeah,
that is intentionally building that chosen family because 70 years ago, I think the idea of being born, growing up, and living and dying within 50 miles of the same place kind of died in the diaspora after the Second World War.
that was definitely the death knell. America's always been weird that way, though.
It has.
Weirder than most other places.
Well, we're a lot bigger too.
We are.
But anymore, you do not expect to spend most of your life in the same 50-mile radius. You're not most of us are not around extended family. You don't have that
Hmm.
built-in community. You
Yeah.
are, your friends that you know from high school are people who you click like on a photo they posted on Facebook.
Hmm.
They're not people that you rent. They're not people that you run into at the hardware store or at the grocery store or coffee shop anymore.
Yeah.
So you've got to be intentional about building that community and building that chosen family. Because if you're going to have any kind of extended family that you can rely on in any way, that are touch points for your children to interact with, they're going to be people that you've deliberately established connections with because the built in connections are kind of scattered to the winds.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is precisely why Nick does, why Nick was like, hey, I want to do summer vacation with my daughter and the cousins, and we want
Yeah.
to get together around Christmas every year because we're there. I mean, his parents have now moved out to Portland
Oh,
because
like full term,
granddaughter
full
finally,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she gets lots of interaction with her grandparents now
Hmm.
because they moved from Texas to Oregon because our one and only grandchild is here.
Yeah. My parents did a similar thing, um, because our existence is predicated upon where Uncle Sam decides we need to be.
Yep.
They followed my brother-in-law and my sister and their kids a couple times, and it wasn't strictly speaking, you're going there, so we're going there, as much as, oh, you're going there. Well, that's a very strong attractant, and there are other reasons to go as well.
Yeah, I mean that's how my in-laws are ending up here is
Hmm.
their parents who are still alive or in their mid 80s, and they're dealing with you know them possibly looking at possibly assisted living stuff like that. They've helped them move.
Yeah.
My father-in-law's mom moved in with his sister several years ago. They had to liquidate an entire house full of stuff
Oh yeah, and
with my
that's a lot of work
oh yeah
right there.
my mother-in-law's parents have moved 3 times in the last 5 years because my father-in-law's been a pain in the ass. But they've had to deal with helping them downsize stuff and move.
Yeah.
And now we've designed and built a house that is intended to move them from rural Georgia into Salt Lake, where they can have some family who are not overwhelmed dealing with other aging relatives, and
Yep.
where the where all but one of their grandchildren are, and where they've got proximity to one of the best VA health centers in the country, is in Salt Lake.
Yep.
Because my wife's grandfather was career enlisted Air Force, so all of his cares through the VA, dealing with Agent Orange syndrome. He was a paymaster for the Air Force through Vietnam.
Dang.
So, and this was long before direct deposit was a thing. He actually got to fly all over Vietnam with pallets of cash to distribute pay. And in more than one occasion had barrels of Agent Orange break loose of containment and be completely covered in the stuff.
Oh,
he's had some weird cancers from it, and somehow he's still like 86 years old and ornery as hell.
Yeah, it takes that kind of mental grit.
It does
to pull through that kind of thing.
But, we're working on moving them to Salt Lake, where they're not 3 hours away from the nearest VA, and where there are people who can help take care of him.
Yep.
But for most of us, in our ages where we're raising kids, we go where the job is.
Yeah.
And that is usually not where our parents are. That's not where our aunts and uncles and our grandparents are. And so you've got to build community. You find, you find your touch points. Be it D&D, be it competition shooting, church,
sports ball,
yes.
trivia night at the local pub. It's very popular here. It's not my scene, but it is.
I have a friend from high school who's in semi-rural Pennsylvania who's made her entire career running trivia nights at bars. Well, trivia and karaoke.
That's wild.
Yeah. She actually has made a decent career out of it.
Yeah.
But that's an event that helps form community, helps people, gives people a common ground to say hi, because especially as adults, it's not like when we were kids. Some new family would move in, and you go and you show up at the house. Do you have kids? How old are they? Oh, you're my age, and you're also a boy. We're friends now.
Right. We do the same kinds of things because that clearly there's just not that much to do.
Yeah.
I think
we have to be more intentional about it today.
The atomization of society over the last,
say 50 years.
Yeah, is a fascinating subject. Really, probably.
Oh yeah.
Beyond the scope of our particular podcast, but it is something that it helps to understand a bit, gain some familiarity with, to better understand what's going to be happening for our kids. The fact that there are very few generationally uniting touchstones in the same way that there were certainly for our parents.
Yeah.
And less so for us.
I mean, like one of the things is vastly changed between, depending if you're like my parents, who, I was born when they were 20 and 23, as opposed to somebody our age who was, whose parents were in their 30s when they were born.
Yep.
The idea of working at one place for 25 years and then drawing a pension for the rest of your life is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, for us,
the only place you're really going to see that is the military.
Yeah, for us, if you want to advance, if you want to make more money, you have to change jobs every 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
And anymore, that often means relocation by more than 10 miles.
Yep.
Sometimes it means going multiple states away multiple times. So you don't have these people that you grew up with for 15 years.
Yeah.
You have people you were connected with for 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years maybe, and then you moved on.
If you're lucky, you connect with a couple of people that you can then keep in touch with
Yeah. But how many of the people that you were friends that you worked with? I mean, for you, you've been out of the Navy for what, 13 years?
Yep. I occasionally talk to 16, 2010. I occasionally talk to one of my roommates. Um,
Yeah.
I've actually talked to more people that I met in language school because my wife is still active duty. If she wasn't, I probably wouldn't talk to anybody.
My 17 years in and out of college, I
Hmm.
have two friends I have any contact with
Yeah.
beyond seeing them occasionally pop up on my Facebook feed. I have two friends from high school. Now, granted, a number of my friends from high school are dead, courtesy of the vagaries of Iraq and Afghanistan and mental health care for veterans.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me started on that rant. God,
That's another. Yeah. Hmm.
at 43 years old, I've been to way too many fucking funerals,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, none of them were killed in action.
Yeah.
Every one of them died at their own hand.
Damn it. Um,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Now I've got one buddy from high school that I talk to semi regularly. I've got a handful from college,
mhm.
uh, and then mostly it's people like you and Nick and the rest of our friend group who are have developed over the years of it, through shared interests and
Yep.
values.
And to build that community where you can at least talk about the frustrations of trying to homeschool to semi clones of yourself.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a community you had to be intentional about building. I mean,
Yeah.
as I'm going through trying to rebuild the website I already built. I was looking for more photos. Like, I'm going to go dig through Dave and Mrs. Dave's Facebooks, and all I can
Oh,
find is shit from
no.
15 to 20 years ago. Like,
Yeah,
going through some of those photos, I realized I'd never actually seen you with short hair
yeah, yeah. Not until
until
recently.
I saw, like, yesterday. I found a photo from you guys' wedding, and I went, "Oh, holy shit! They look like they're 12."
Yeah, I know.
I
I
was
was
like,
27, man.
"Yeah, but seriously, you looked like you were maybe 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Short hair, clean shaven."
Hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, I've never seen Dave look like that.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
also a
Yeah,
scrawny little fucker.
dude. I was I was probably about 170 at the time. Um, a couple years later, I got down to 145 when I was working out a lot.
I think I've seen a couple of photos from that, but those were all like random photos that were taken at cons. So there's like a third of
Yeah,
Dave at the side of the image or something.
right. And
There's like
now I'm,
four photos that I can actually use a headshot of.
yeah, yeah. Now we'll find some stuff. My wife and I are both yeah. There's a certain amount of professional paranoia that gets instilled when you're working anywhere
Oh,
around
hell yeah.
kids.
Hell yeah.
And she was doing a tactical course several years ago, and the instructors tried to find stuff online and
Oh, geez.
couldn't. They could find her Facebook, but they couldn't find hardly anything. They're like, actually, you're doing really well with the infosec there.
Yes,
Uh,
you guys have.
yeah, we
Much to my
we
dismay of usable photos I can steal.
dude, I'll send you some photos. That'll be
I know.
fine.
I told you, like, dude, I need more than three photos of
Yeah,
like your face that I can use for stuff.
yeah. I'll see what I can find. I'm sure we guys. Hey, my daughter used to when she was in a pre-K. um, situation where she was going to a Montessori for a while. She insisted on taking a picture of me in front of the school sign like every day using my phone. So I've still got those somewhere. We'll find those.
Yeah,
Usually holding one of her pink teddy bears or something.
because of course she has multiple pink teddy bears.
Oh yeah, well, and
Do they
she
all do
actually
they all have names and life stories?
no, not anymore.
Wow.
Mostly these days, it's and for shortly thereafter became about Hello Kitty.
Oh yeah, because
Sanrio,
her and my oldest.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember my oldest going through her collection of Hello Kitty stuff with her, and the child
yes,
was in absolute awe. Like,
yes,
you have 17 lizards and 3 snakes and 14 tons of Hello Kitty shit. You are the coolest person I have ever met.
yes, yep. That's my kid. She's how, are your kids cool? Like my kids are so unbelievably much cooler than I was at their age. Like I
Some of
was,
mine are. A couple of mine
um,
are really. A couple of
yeah,
mine
that's
are really stuck in like the most awkward possible teen phase.
yeah.
But like my daughters,
Hmm.
especially my oldest,
Yeah,
especially now that she's a tattoo artist and a ski, snowboard, skateboard, and BMX coach.
yeah, that's crazy. Like that's
She's like the coolest girl in a 20-mile radius. I swear to
pretty
God.
much. Oh yeah.
I was not cool.
I no,
I
no.
was I was that weird kid who still wore combat boots and a trench coat to school most days after Columbine.
Right. Yeah. Oh, God, I remember that.
And I mean, you're the weirdo with the fedora or trilby and a kilt for as long as I can remember.
Oh yeah. No, I have a great fedora. No, I don't wear a trilby. Trilbies make my face look blocky.
I think I found a photo of you in a trilby.
I might have put one on at some point. I've
Of
got
course, just knowing the difference between a fedora and a trilby kind of outs us as
oh absolutely. Yeah. Now the one of those ways of becoming attractive in the sense of people generating interest in people who don't already know you is to be weird in a not disturbing way. Wearing a
yes.
kilt, wearing a kilt with confidence, or a trench coat and fedora with basically a stylistic choices worn with confidence and a casual air are going to generate a lot of comments.
I
Uh,
can tell you a heavily waxed mustache will do
yep,
that.
absolutely.
Of
Looking
course,
like you care about your appearance even a little bit is going to do it.
yeah, yeah. It's one of these really disconcerting things about getting old enough to actually start understanding women is I am pick up on interest that would have just blown by me in my 20s when it could have done me any fucking good.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't get this. I'm boring as hell. I literally sit at home and build shit in my shop and I get no, that's hot. I'm
Yeah.
like, are you okay? Is this perimenopause? I mean, we're all like getting to that age. What the hell's going on here?
Right.
I'm like, no, 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 no. Yeah, the notion of people being interested in me is really weird, but the older I get, the more I find that like I draw people in
Hmm.
And I'm not sure how or why, but I'm usually kind of okay with it just until
Well,
like people
honestly,
need my time when I don't want to give it.
fair. And a certain amount of giving no fucks is a big piece of that. It's the I'm comfortable in my skin and I don't have time for nonsense.
Yeah, which I don't.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to go do my things, and if you think that's cool, okay, I think you're weird, but okay.
Mhm.
But I'm not about to go out of my way to try and, make myself interesting to people who otherwise wouldn't care,
Right.
which seems to generate more interest somehow. It's weird.
It absolutely does. It is kind of that. Well, being relatively emotionally mature is an attractant,
Which has
uh,
taken me to my almost my mid 40s to get there.
dude.
Better than my dad did.
Well, there you go. Better than those people in Seattle are doing.
Yeah, Laurelwood Community Council, fuck yourselves again,
And on that note,
assholes. I kind of want to go clip that out and like liberally distribute it around the internet, just in hopes of pissing them off.
right?
Maybe and maybe going viral for telling them to go to hell.
If
I could handle that kind of notoriety.
right, it's like no PR is bad PR.
I may be in the minority, but I disagree with that.
Oh
But
yeah,
I'm not a publicity whore. That's why I'm not in politics.
yes. Hollywood for
Of course,
ugly people.
of course, you could ask Tony Gonzalez if all PR is good PR. Oh, fuck that guy. Vote
Yeah,
Herrera 2026.
absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's where we're going is the built-in communities that have existed in generations past are gone.
Yeah.
And the kind of forced community that you get around a school or around a fucking HOA
Mm-hmm.
is not a functional supportive community.
Yeah.
You've got to find your voluntary associations and you've got to be intentional about finding your people and building community with them, because otherwise you're going to do this on your own, and there is nothing more lonely than dealing with a miniaturized, less mature version of yourself that nobody else knows, that you can be like, I want to beat this child today.
Mm-hmm.
Where at least if your friends know you and they know the child, they can laugh and be like, that's because she's just like you, except extroverted.
Right.
Isn't she supposed to be in bed?
Uh, yeah.
I just heard her laughing.
Oh, yes, you did.
Sweetie, you're supposed to be in bed. Go on now. Yeah,
Guys,
guys.
you're always going to get the real scoop here. This is we don't we don't gussy this up. We're not polishing this thing.
Nope.
We are real here. My
Yeah,
kids my kids have sleep issues. Gee, I wonder if they do have ADD.
I wonder where they got that from. On the footer to our website is Two Dads, Real Talk, Zero Filter.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of psychologists and others who are putting out really polished content about parenting that just makes you feel inadequate. Um, we're here to show you that it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to help you, one, know that the fact that everything feels like a mess and it feels chaotic as hell from day to day and like you're barely hanging on, that's the norm. And
Yep.
it's okay.
Yep.
And we will talk about what we struggle with. We'll talk about, we are making a a concerted effort to try and celebrate the things that we do well. But really, guys, I think if we were to distill our message down to two things, it is one, you are not alone. Two, put in the effort and be a little bit better every day.
Yep.
Part of that is building your community so that you are not so that you can feel that you're not alone. So your kids have other points of reference aside from you. Because generally that's going to show them just how well you are doing.
Yeah, they need perspective of seeing other people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, no, my dad is awesome.
Yeah.
And my dad has friends. And it's okay to be weird like dad.
Yeah.
It's like one of the really disconcerting things for me is my parents did not have friends.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was the weirdest thing. Like they had friendly acquaintances, usually from church.
Mm-hmm.
But like if and this is some inside baseball on Mormonism, like especially in Utah where I grew up, where it was like 92% LDS. If the ward boundaries changed to where the people across the street were now in a different ward, a different congregation, we hardly interacted with them at all.
Yep.
So it was like my parents sort of had friends, but if ward boundaries changed, then we never talked to them again.
Right.
And that felt really weird to me. And I've always tried to be intentional about like building friendships outside of just my family, because family is great for those of you who are in more functional families. Mine's pretty dysfunctional, and the religious divide is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I've walked away from Mormonism, I've pretty much just been kicked out. And some of that's just because I'm not willing to tolerate a lot of catty bullshit going on that's related to that. Yeah. So it's, some I've walked away, some I'm kicked out, and a lot of it is there's just things I'm not willing to put up with anymore. So that building your community, your chosen family, I think is more important now than it ever has been, because your built-in communities are fracturing just by the nature of the changes in society. So you build your friendships, and you should not feel guilty for taking time to invest in those friendships and building your larger community, because that does make you a better father, a better husband, and a better person.
Yep.
Because none of us can do this shit completely alone.
No, I've tried. It's not worth trying.
And you need friends who you're not sleeping with. Yes.
I
adore my wife. We talk about anything and everything for hours. There are still conversations that I need to have that are best done not involving her.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it exactly, but there's some conversations that I can have with Dave that I can have, and I can talk about how I feel. And Dave and I are close, I mean, obviously, but I don't sleep with him because that would be gross.
Not my type.
But you've got to have connection. You've got to build community, and it's got to be intentional.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what we're doing here. We talk about trying to make this pay for itself, and maybe someday actually make money for us. That would be awesome. But honestly, I started doing this because I realized I was missing connection with other adults other than my wife, just from having retired out of the workplace and kind of working by myself all the time.
Yeah.
And I realized that was not healthy for me. I needed to be more intentional about interacting with my close friends, talking about these things that matter and these things that, sometimes the things that undermine our confidence and the other things that we can, that we can take pride in. Be like, look at this thing I designed and built. It's fucking awesome.
Right.
Yeah, my wife can only hear that so many times.
Yeah. She sees all of it.
Yeah, she saw the fact that I spent the last 6 weeks working on this. She's like, yeah, it looks great. Or it'll be like, Dave, check this out. Look what I did. Look what I did orienting the grain on my daughter's dresser here.
Right.
Look how that flows. It's fucking awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because Dave hasn't been watching me work on it for the last 6 weeks,
right,
it's a different impact.
Yep.
So yeah, it takes a village to raise a child, but it's not the village anybody's going to impose on you, because that one, as COVID showed us, is dysfunctional as fuck.
Choose your village wisely.
Yes. And then build it with intention. Block by dude. If anybody were playing the Unhinged Dad's drinking game, we're taking a shot every time we said intentional.
Yeah.
I don't think that they could still be watching. I think they'd be passed out, possibly on their way to the hospital.
There's a good chance.
Okay, yeah, don't play the Unhinged Dad's drinking game and end up with alcohol poisoning, please.
Yeah, that's on you, not on us.
Yeah, we take zero credit or blame for that. Right. But in this building community thing and finding people with whom you have touch points and a frame of reference in which to relate, come find us on the Unhinged Dad's Real Talk on Raising Kids Facebook group. If you're listening, you're old enough, you're probably still using Facebook instead of Snapchat as your primary, or TikTok as your primary social media. So join us on there. We've got a welcome post up that has had 2 of us respond. How many kids do you have? What are what is kicking your ass as a dad right now? What are you doing well?
There you go.
And of course, and of course, anything that we're producing will get cross-posted over there to make sure that you can see it.
Yep.
But yeah, part of what we're doing here is to try and help build a component of your village of other guys who are dealing with this whole chaotic mess that is trying to raise small humans and not be a piece of shit while doing it. And we're here for you, which, God, that sounds so trite. But we are. Join the community with us. Let's get better, be better a little bit every day together.
Yeah.
And when you screw up and you feel like a piece of shit, we can talk about it.
Yep.
Because we all do it. We all do it every day. Every time you get frustrated and you say something out of hand that hurts your kids' feelings.
Yeah.
And you go, oh no. It happens. Let's talk about it. Let somebody else who's also doing that or who has been there be like, no, dude, you're not a piece of shit. You're human, and that's okay.
Yeah.
What do we learn from this? How do we go forward? And that is how we help lift each other up, and we take a little bit of the burden, we make it easier. So, guys, if you're finding some value in what we've got to say, which I really hope you do, like, subscribe, follow us. The website is www.unhingeddadspod.com. You'll find links to everything there. We're going to keep that updated, and we're going to continue trying to build a community here of dads who are invested in being the best dads we can be. So, Dave, do you have any closing thoughts before we run off to bed? Because it's late.
Man, we've said it's late, and I've got more cabinets to hang tomorrow. We've said everything, at least for this topic.
Awesome. Then everybody, we will catch you on the next episode. I'm going to hit the disclaimer and we're going to log off. All right, that is it for tonight's episode. Thank you for joining us. Quick reminder, all opinions expressed here are solely those of the individual speakers, hosts, and guests alike, and do not represent the views of any affiliated person, organization, company, sponsor, or other entity. This show is provided for entertainment purposes only. Nothing discussed is professional advice of any kind. Always consult a qualified professional and use your own best judgment before acting on anything we've talked about. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.